Okie dokie. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I went live before I had my lighting. Anyway, my beloved Vikings are beating the Cincinnati Bengals pretty handily right now. Game's far from over though. Anyway, first video up is from Smoking and Grilling with AB. Homemade Salisbury steak.
With AB.com, and that's WITAB.com. Okay, so look, just doing a little recap. You guys see I got some ingredients, right? Remember I said in the very beginning, we separate, right? So since we're getting ready to work with our ground beef, check it out. This is everything that I need to go ahead and get these patties right. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and take this. Now this is the 80-20. You guys can use a little bit of a leaner meat if that's what you like. 90-10 works great.
Treat Salisbury steak like you would treat a burger. 80-20.
Also, let me move this out you guys' way.
You know.
We got this in here, and that's a pound in there.
I mean, literally the only difference between a burger and a Salisbury steak is one has buns and condiments on it. The other has no bun and gravy on top of it.
Folks. Now you want to go ahead and just start adding your ingredients. Now this part right here, I like to just say this is the dump and go. So we'll get all of this in here. And then we're gonna go in here and work with our hands. Let me go ahead and get my spatula. All right, once we got all of this in here, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna add just some of my crumbs. Let me get a spatula, let me put this in the inside. There we got this in here. Don't forget to have your hot soapy water. So I'm gonna set this off to the side. Now this is the part that gets everybody going, right? We gotta use our hands, folks. And then we don't wanna over mix it. I'm just gonna break some of this up now, and then we just start going in here like this. It's almost like making a meatloaf, folks. If you guys know how to make that meatloaf, tell me what I could have added to this to make it really nice.
I didn't see Charlie Kirk's funeral. Shit.
Meatloaf. If you guess the egg was missing, then you're good. I'm just gonna go ahead and just work this, kind of like folding it over the top. I don't like them to be so dense, but when we make that gravy, that keeps it hydrated too. And remember, this is not a meatloaf, right? And you can see everything on here. Now I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper. And then if you guys pay attention, if you look right there, you can see how it's been seasoned. You can see what didn't get where. So we just kind of like work it. Again, we don't want it to be so dense. We still want it to be moist, but that.
Wow.
Gravy gonna help us with that.
Experience naturalismo. Untouched. Barefoot.
All right, a couple of pinches. Then when it comes to the pepper, I tell you guys to grind until you get tired. Pepper right here, this is really key to a lot of dishes. People want to know how things get tied in, especially when you're out there on the grill. Don't forget, pepper takes on a whole different taste once it starts to cook. All right, so once we got the, that salt.
So is he gonna grill these or?
Out there, I come with the rest of my, my breadcrumbs. All right, so that's done. Got my glove back on, and now we work. All right, so look, this is what we're finna do. We're finna form these patties, right? Super easy. You wanna make sure that all your patties are about the same size. And why? Because we want them to all cook at the same time and be ready at the same time. They will cook at the same time. Okay, so now we're finna form our patties, right? So I just broke these up into 4. We wanna get these to be a uniform size. That way, while they cooking, they all ready at the same size. We don't want the bigger one to have to stay in there longer, right? So I can look at these right now and tell you, I like this size.
I think I'll cover the Charlie Kirk funeral on my other channel. I try not to do politics on this channel.
That size looks okay. This one right here could use a little help. And then all we're gonna do is shape these. Now, when you say Salisbury, some people say they gotta be like in a football shape. Some people say they can just be regular. I'm gonna make mine just regular, folks. Built is a loyalty program that lets you earn rewards just by paying your rent. Listen, it's completely free to join, and you can start earning points no matter where you live. When you pay your rent through Built, you earn Built points, and the Points Guy has ranked this the most valuable points currency out there. Those points can be redeemed for things like flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, Lyft rides, Amazon.com purchasing, and even your future rent payments. And it's not just traveling and shopping.
All right, I hate to do this. I'm going to skip over the ad read.
These forms, look, we just add just a little bit in here. Don't forget, I told you I'm using 80-20, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and let that, like heat up just a little bit. I can see what I look for a little glare. When I see my oil right there, once I see it shimmer, I know that I'm good to put it in there. Or if I just wait, it will puff back to me and tell me that it's ready to have some food put on it. We almost there, folks. Okay, so now that we got our patties ready, let's just go ahead and put these in here. Now these are kind of like a little bit on the large side. We got to get them all in here, but you see that?
Well, again, this is the one time it might be acceptable to have slightly larger patties, unlike burgers, which are sandwiches. Again, these are a little closer to steaks.
They barely fit in here, but that's what you want to get. You want to start with, just like that. Okay, so look, while we got our patties, they cooking, right? We're going to go ahead and just add the rest of our ingredients minus.
I don't like store-bought. Are you talking like in the freezer section, or are you talking in the like the ones the meat department makes? I don't like the frozen patties because they add like this weird char flavor to them that I can't stand. And I don't generally like the ones in the meat department because, yeah, they're typically half-pound patties, and I typically don't like those.
Well, I guess I shouldn't have said rest of, huh? Because we're not going to put our butter, our mushrooms, or our onions in. But everything else, we want to just go ahead and dump this in here. Now, I got it. This is a little bit different, folks. We finna make something like really, really good. When I'm making my gravy, I normally don't, use ketchup in it. But don't forget, we're doing Salisbury steak, right? You guys gonna trust me at the end. And then this one here, I'm just gonna add it here. That's fine, because we're gonna cook it all down. It's gonna dissolve anyway. So as I mix this up, now we got that cornstarch. I'm gonna add that. Now we want to whisk. What we don't want to have is any lumps. This is going to act as my thickening agent. Don't worry, folks. We're going to get that in there. And then that sound you hear on the side of me right now, you know what that is. That's them patties. They're getting a nice sear on. Okay, so look, I want to give you guys like a little bit of a pro tip, right? So since I use 80-20, it released a lot of, fat into my pan. Now, we got to do our onions, we got to do our mushrooms, right? We want to get some of that, that flavor in there, right? So what I did was I took a paper towel, and notice how I just put it in there. You see that right there? And I'll throw this away. I don't want to get all of that out of there because look, that fine is in the bottom of my skillet. That's what's going to give it the flavor, folks. Right?
Never get rid of the fond.
I'm finna start with a medium flame. We're going to start building up some heat, but here we go. We're finna add our butter. As my butter melts, right? Notice what I'm doing here. I'm going to cut my onion just like you guys see. You guys cut your onion any kind of way you want to do it. You can cut them in half moons. I just like the circles. I'm talking about, so when I push them in like this, look at this right here. This is what I like. Even if you mess up and they come like that, it doesn't make no difference. This is right here. We want to get some of this onion flavor to dissolve. Now, if you look at my pan, you see everything is dissolved, right? We got this going. It's nice. It's warming up. The brown is from the patties, folks. And then the seasoning, right? So now I'm getting ready to just add, look, my onions. Don't worry about the size of them. I promise you, they're gonna get smaller.
Making like
you know what I mean? Some of them are gonna wither away. But you gotta have a little bit of onion. I don't know about y'all, but I gotta have onion in my gravy. Now here's a little brain teaser for everybody. And the reason being, look at that right there. That's just butter, right?
God
and
damn
onion.
I'll be right back. This stream's off to a great start. God fucking Jesus Christ. Alright, let's...
Onion serves two purposes. For one, it's got to add that flavor. I hear people say they don't like onions, but then they say they love my food. 90% of the time, if I'm cooking something, especially if it's on the Creole, Southern, or anything of that nature, it's got onion in it, right? But comment section below. Are these crisp? Once we put the beef broth in here, with this concoction that I gave, bring my beef broth in. But look at those mushrooms.
Mushrooms, onions looking good.
Oh,
Although I don't like mushrooms.
I could have put more mushroom in here. All right, now let me go ahead and re-whisk, just in case anything settled down the bottom. I'm gonna turn everything up on high. Now I'm gonna add. Now what I did was, I reduced my fire down to a medium flame. I just want this to sort of like simmer, right? You can see it's starting back. This is good. Now I want to cook this down just for about 3 to 5 minutes. You know,
right,
you
so
can see it already
loose gravy.
up, and it smells incredible. No longer do you guys got to go buy this, you know, in the store. This right here is gonna make the rotation. So now you can add it to your spaghetti, meatloaf, and all of that. AB got you. Okay, so look, I got my little tester spoon. This is how I ensure that all my food tastes great, right? Take a look. Come on down here. First of all, I always check to see how does it coat. I know we put that minced garlic in here. Don't worry, it's gonna go away. But you see that right there? I look at that, and then I taste as I go, folks. I kind of like went 5 minutes. You remember these patties that some of y'all was like, ooh, they a little dark for me. Yeah, okay. Let's just go ahead and get these in here like that. But y'all see where we going with it. And then tell me.
Like I said, with Salisbury steak, you can at least properly rest the patties and they'll come back up to temperature because, again, they're taking a gravy bath.
Why
can't humans take gravy baths?
Voice always change when we get down to the nitty gritty. Now I'm going to take one of my tablespoons. Look at this here. You guys see where we going with it now? I'm gonna go ahead and stick a lid on here so we can cook this for about 5 minutes. And then we'll check to make sure that we got an internal temp of 165 on the patties, and then we go from there. All right, folks, so look, if you come in here, I done took enough pictures of this. I really don't need this knife, and I'm gonna show you why. You gotta have the mashed potatoes. I eat it with rice sometime, but mashed potatoes win by far. And then for those of you guys that's on that new stuff, you know we got a little bit of that asparagus, right?
For beef, yeah, I much prefer mashed potatoes.
So if I take this right here and I just go down here like that, ooh, nice and slow. You see this right here? Oh, wait a minute, first of all, I gotta get me a mushroom. Y'all let me know down in the comment section below. Do I got enough gravy? Do I need more gravy? You see that onion? Come on in here and look at this real fast. Let me bring that over there and bring it close to y'all. You see that right there? And then if I turn it over here, you can just see super moist. Anyway, we're not finna over talk.
All right. I'd eat the absolute shit out of that. Here's the other one from the title. Tallow Basted Tavern Burger. What the hell is that?
The Tallow Basted Tavern Burger. While I'm a big fan of smash burgers, thin patties, multiple layers, this is a really cool burger. The Tavern Burger is a larger burger, so it's gonna be 1/3 pound patty that we're gonna cook in a skillet, but during the process...
That's about as large as I like my patties, 1/3 pounds. Typically, my favorite is I like 2 1/4 pound patties and I like to do a double. The reason I like the double versus a 8-ounce patty is because I can put shit in between the 2 patties to kind of break it up when I take my bite. But I also like 1/3 pound patties, but that's about as big as I like to get.
Process of cooking it, we're gonna be basting it with tallow. We've got our creek stone beef here today. This stuff.
Okay, not to be a dick, maybe it's your camera. Lord knows I'm dealing with a real shit camera at the moment. Bro, that looks really lean.
I believe is about 85-15, 86-14, something like that.
Okay, so it is lean for burgers.
We're just gonna form it into a patty. Get it nice and round.
Again, for me, for burgers, it's 80-20 or 75-25.
Shore up the edges, press it out a bit, and give it that divot in the middle because you know it's gonna plump up. Seasoning these burgers with the
Or just do what I do and increase the surface area.
Cattleman's Grill tri-tip, but we're gonna break it down nice and fine with our electric grinder. This way we don't get any scorched bits on the outside, and this rub can just kind of work its way into the meat. The burgers are gonna be cooked in this 12-inch cast iron skillet. We've got about a 1/4 cup of tallow here, a few cloves of garlic, and some fresh thyme.
Okay,
now,
so
I'm gonna take these
treating it a little more like a steak.
out for now, and I'll go preheat the skillet on the grill. Let's talk through the components of this burger. So we're gonna have a brioche bun. We're gonna have mayo on the bottom. On top of that, we're gonna have the burger itself with melted American cheese. And then we're gonna do a slab of grilled onions. So we'll get into that in just a second. Top bun, mustard, that's it. Pretty simple. So I wanna keep these slabs whole. We're gonna peel this onion and then cut them into whole slabs and throw them on the grill. I'm not gonna go too thick because I want these to get cooked through in a timely manner. They shouldn't be rock hard when you eat them, but they also shouldn't be soggy. We'll add a bit of flavor to these with the OBQ's steak maker. The thing I love about this rub is the Worcestershire flavor. We're gonna start on the grill here on the Yoder 640 by grilling off our onion slabs.
Why wouldn't you grill the burger then?
Getting some good color on here now. They're starting to soften up. Try to keep those all in one slab. Always lose the middle. These are looking good, so they're gonna go to the other side of the grill while we bring our skillet over the flame to sear the burgers. Tallow down in the skillet now. We'll let that melt, then we'll throw in our garlic and thyme. So not too much.
I will say this. One time I did a experiment where I actually fried French fries in lard. And I have to say the final product was actually way better than peanut oil. But God, is it a pain in the ass.
Tallow because I actually want to get a sear on the bottom.
I suppose you can't base it on a
just
grill.
frying it, or at least deep frying it. But as these burgers cook down,
Well, you could, but you'd have to melt the fat in another cooking pot, vessel, whatever, and then baste it over, and yeah, you'll lose a bunch of it in the. But yeah, I don't know, is that basting or not?
the fat's going to melt out. We'll get more fat accumulated.
Whatever,
Which
it's
is
his
going to
burger. He can do whatever the
mingle with
fuck he
these
wants.
Herbs and the garlic, and we'll spoon it over the top as it cooks. Now, by basting the
Yeah, like I said, you can spoon it over the top on the grill, but it won't keep coming off and like taking more of the meat juices with it.
tallow over the top of these burgers, we're adding more fat, which carries flavor. That's one of the things about fat. It just spreads flavor around. So when you've got that garlic, that thyme in there, it infuses with the fat, and then you can baste it over the top of the burger to add
And don't get me wrong, I have nothing but a love for pan-fried burgers.
extra flavor.
Not a goddamn
Good luck
purist.
drying one of these out. Nice sear.
Here's my rankings of how I prefer to do my burgers. Number 1 is the grill, obviously. Number 2 is a griddle. Number 3 is a pan. But again, a lot of this shit is depending on what type of burger am I making. With Juicy Lucy's, I prefer a pan, actually.
Time for a flip. Let's get some cheese on there and let it
Just because I can put a lid on it and have it cook quicker.
finish.
Because the problem with Juicy Lucy's is you worry about the seam that you made breaking and all your cheese just leaking out. The problem with especially cheeseburgers in a pan is when that cheese melts, it's a bitch and a half to clean.
A couple slices of American on top. Let's just go ahead and baste those while we're at it.
Whereas with a grill, you can just leave the fire on and the cheese
All right,
will
we're gonna
burn.
slide this off to the side and toast our brioche buns while these finish cooking. Just a dry toast on these to give them a little bit of texture.
The way I'm addicted to toasting buns now is getting a griddle hot or medium heat, rubbing butter all over it, and toasting my buns in that. Be they brioche, white, whatever.
Buns got a good crisp on them. Let's move them off to the side. I'm gonna throw a lid on top of the pan so these can finish up cooking. Temping right at 160 now, so we're gonna pull these off. Let's build these bad boys. We're going down with a little Duke's mayo on the bottom.
Love Duke's
Spread.
mayo. If you've never, I mean, I think it was like 5 minutes ago that Duke's mayo became available in Minnesota, and Jesus Christ, is it better.
Little greenery here with some butter lettuce. Beautiful.
I will say this, as much as I hate to admit anything, butter lettuce is pretty good for burgers. I still prefer iceberg lettuce, but butter lettuce is a pretty decent substitute.
Little hockey puck of a burger right on top of there.
See, and that's kind of what I don't like. I don't like my burgers resembling hockey pucks.
And then your onions. Now top bun's gonna get the mustard. I do love some pickles on a burger, but this market mustard from Kozlik's has so much tang that it doesn't even need the pickles.
No.
Yeast.
In the words of Donald Trump, no. Wrong. Burgers need pickles. All right, I gotta get me another beer.
The fattiness from the tallow, from the burger itself, totally cut by that mustard. Getting nice crunch from the onions, not too soft, and a little bit of creaminess from the mayo on the bottom. I'm a mayo and mustard guy on my burgers, so this is exactly how I want to eat one. Thank you, guys.
All right. All right. Well, I don't know who the hell this is.
Classic than roasted chicken. It's why world famous chefs all say the same thing. When it's done right, there's nothing better. I'm talking juicy, flavorful meat with skin so delicious you won't stop eating it. And yeah, it usually does taste better in restaurants, but I'll show you the inside techniques on how to make it just as good. Starting with a very crucial step. Sound good? Let's cook. I'm going to be using a whole 3.5 to 4 pound roasting chicken. Now, this is a typical size, and I was even able to find a few organic ones that were on sale. Score. The first thing I'm going to do is using some paper towels, I'm going to pat it dry very well on all sides and in between every little crack and crevice. Next is incredibly important, and that is seasoning the chicken, but not just for flavor, also to dry brine it, which I'll explain in a second. But first, generously season on all sides of the bird with coarse salt and freshly cracked pepper. You'll probably end up using about 3 to 4 teaspoons of salt and about 1 teaspoon of pepper. The cavity is equally important for seasoning. This will help ensure every bite is flavorful. At this stage, I'm going to transfer it over to a rack over a sheet tray, and a plate or a platter will also work, and yes, as always for me, parchment paper underneath. It's a pro kitchen thing that has no other benefits other than working clean.
And also cuts down on cleanup time because your tray isn't dirty.
It's not a hobby. It's your empire.
And don't worry, yes, I'm absolutely going to trust this, but what I want to do now is leave everything open, the wings and the legs. It's going in the fridge uncovered for as little as 4 hours and up to 24 hours. The longer, the better. During this process, the salt will draw out some moisture, then it will seep back into the meat, drying out the outside skin.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Which of course will help us get beautifully brown crispy skin and crazy juicy meat. What's better? So when you're ready to cook this, start off by preheating the oven to 425 degrees F, fan off, and while it heats up, we're going to take out the chicken and let it sit at room temp to help take the chill off of it. You should notice how dried out the skin is. Perfect. Such a great technique that you can absolutely pull off and at home with ease. Now to push in and get a bit more flavor, I'm going to stuff the inside cavity with 1 shallot that I peeled and sliced in half, 4 to 5 garlic cloves, 2 sprigs of fresh rosemary, and about 6 to 8 sprigs of fresh thyme. This will help to bring a lot of aromatics and flavors into the burger. At this point, using a toothpick or a skewer, I'm going to make about 15 to 20 little pierces or punctures, only going as deep as breaking through the skin in each part, so the thighs, drums, breasts, wings, and even the backside around the oysters. This does not need to be perfect at all, but what this simple technique does is help to release some of the moisture and render some of the chicken fat to get that skin even crispier. And don't worry, you won't lose any juiciness in the chicken with this. I'll even show you after what it looks like and feels like if you don't do this. But first, let's trust this chicken. On that same rack, fold the wings underneath to help stabilize the bird from rocking back and forth and keep it upright. Next, take about a 3-foot or so piece of butcher's twine and then center it over the drums. Wrap around the drums and cross the twine to make a figure 8 ending over top of the drums, and then pull it tight to bring them together. Next, go along the sides of the chicken and bring the twine to the top. At this point, flip it over, and then what we're going to do is tie a knot right around the neck bone, and I usually do an extra loop to help that knot stay secure. Then, just over the side of that neck bone lump, I tie another knot to secure everything in place with a nice little pretty bow, or you can double knot it, up to you. Remove any extra string and you're good to go. Flip it back over so that it's breast side up. And really what this does is it helps keep everything in nice and tight. 1, to make it cook more evenly, and 2, it will look way more beautiful. If you don't, the legs will sort of cook outwards with the thighs and the wings, and it's going to look a little sloppy. Well, this is how chefs do it, and I promise you, you can do it too. I'm taking the chicken over to the cooktop where I've got a large carbon steel pan. A cast iron pan also works well, and you can use a medium size, but I want a bigger one for later, and I'll explain why. But first, add in about 3 tablespoons of olive oil, or just enough to coat the bottom of the pan, then crank that heat up to hot. Once that oil starts smoking, I know I'm good to start searing. So place the chicken backside down into the pan, and as soon as it's in there, I turn the heat down slightly to medium-high. It's really important to be in control of how much heat is coming out of that burner so that nothing burns. I'm going to let it stand for about 2 minutes or so, and then I'm going to give it a little check, and yep, it's just enough light browning for me. So I'm going to turn it using a thick wooden spoon and hold it upright on the side for that same amount of time, about 2 minutes. And then I'll repeat the process on the other side for the same amount of time. Sometimes you've got to be right there touching and moving things as they cook for the best results. And this is one of them, but I promise you, you've got this. Last up, flip it so that it's breast side down. Now as I do that, I turn the heat down to low. Don't worry, the pan will stay plenty hot. Now is when I like to treat this kind of like a steak. Go ahead and add in 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter and start basting the chicken with a spoon. Obviously simple, but this little technique will help add incredible fat and flavor, as well as help making this the most golden brown chicken ever. After about 2 to 3 minutes, flip it over and baste the top for about 1 to 2 more minutes. The timing here doesn't need to be perfect. Remember, the heat's on low. At this stage, I like to drain off as much fat as possible because I want to reduce any risk of that butter burning while in the oven. You can feel free to spoon it out as well, whatever's easiest for you. Now before it goes into the oven, be sure to add a thermometer to the deepest part of the breast. This is how you remove any guesswork to knowing when your chicken's done. I'll drop a link to my favorite temp gauge in the descriptions. It's going in the oven in the same pan on a
that'd be
lower
some
third
good
rack at
fucking
425 degrees F for about 45 to 50 minutes, or until that thermometer reads 155 F. And this was really how we're taught in culinary school. We roast the piece of meat until golden brown and we finish it to temperature in the oven. This is long before reverse sear was ever even a thing, and you don't obviously want to do that with chicken anyways because you need it to cook through. This is the same techniques that classically trained chefs like Kenji Lopez and the famous Jacques Pepin still use to this day. So once it's finished up, let's pull it out, and yes, this is what you're looking for. Beautifully golden brown, perfect shape, and right at 155 internally, which will crank up more to 165 in the breast and 175 in the thighs as it rests. And speaking of, I'm going to take it out of the...
Man, I hope you're right. I usually pull my chicken at about 163. I mean, I know you're a professionally trained chef and everything.
pan and place it on a new rack over a sheet tray and let it rest for about 10 to 12 minutes or so, and just listen to that crispiness. Going to be ridiculous. And to come back to an earlier point I made, here's what happens when you don't poke holes in the skin. It crinkles up and it becomes saturated and turns soft. Sorry, but this is not the way.
Have you ever wanted to see your home from space? With this free satellite Earth Maps tool, you can zoom right down to your exact address in...
You chose poorly.
Exactly, Lord de Beauvais. And we are so close to plating up and eating, so don't go
That was the
anywhere,
knight's
because
name?
First, I'm going to show you how to easily carve up this chicken.
When the hell was that said in the movie? I've watched that movie like 6,000 times.
First and foremost, remove the thermometer and trim away the butcher's twine so no one eats rope, right? Next up, lay it breast side up on a cutting board and using a chef knife or a boning knife, slice between the leg and breast and expose that thigh bone, then simply cut in between. For the breast, I locate the sternum and slice down to the left of it and carve the meat staying as close to the bone as possible until you get to the wing bone. Pop it back to expose it and cut through.
Well, it's
Repeat
done.
this exact same process on the other side. It's super easy. You
So son of a bitch, maybe I'll have to try this.
got this. Now to present everything, starting with the wings, remove the tip and slice between the drumette and the flat. Then for the legs, slice between the thigh and drum to expose the bone, and again cut in between that joint. And of course, the breasts. Slice them about a ½ inch thick, ensuring the skin stays in place. That's gold, my friends. And for that leftover carcass, you can store it later and use it sort of like you would in a remoulade or second washing of bones for stock. While it may not be super intense in flavor, it's still plenty delicious, and it's a perfect way to use this up. Alright, here's the deal. We're taking things up a notch on YouTube and rolling out channel membership for just $4.99. What do you get? Well, you'll get the inside scoop, deeper dive into my videos, extra chef tips and tricks, bonus recipes to round out the dishes I make, and early access to videos before anyone else. I may even drop some exclusive member-only videos. And this is just such a huge way to help support the channel, and I'm just so appreciative. But for this video specifically, you'll see how to make an insanely delicious chicken gravy to go with that roasted.
Well, shit. I didn't think I'd ever want to do a channel membership, but son of a bitch, there he is. Okie dokie. Let's go to... let's do the OnlyFans chick.
Some onion. Some red pepper.
What is
Some
this?
garlic. Some brown sugar. Ketchup.
So is she actually transitioning into like more of a traditional cooking channel?
Some Worcestershire sauce.
Nobody in America can pronounce that shit.
Right, this is all done. There you go, Sloppy Joe. Here you go.
I'd eat it.
Sandwich.
All right, let's do this from Chef. What the hell? Chef John, cowboy butter steak. I take that back. Cowboy butter steak toast. I've had toast with steak because I had it for breakfast. I've never had steak toast. And how old is Chef John? I remember hearing his age just... God, but it had to have been like 10 years ago. He was in like his mid-50s, almost 60.
Hello, this is Chef John from
I wonder if he's retired.
foodwishes.com with Cowboy Butter Steak Toast. That's right, if you want to be a cowboy, you're going to have to learn how to ride a horse, how to rope cattle, and of course, how to make a delicious compound butter that's perfect to serve with steak. And since I'm not a cowboy, I only know how to do one of those three things. But it is the most useful one and the most delicious.
Because I know he is a legit chef. I don't know if he's still in the game or not. I don't know if he retired.
And to get started, we'll take a stick of room temperature unsalted butter, and we will add in a whole bunch of finely crushed garlic, as well as some freshly grated lemon zest, followed by a little bit of Dijon mustard.
Worcestershire sauce.
And once those things have been transferred in, we'll season this up with some salt, followed by some chili flakes. And I'm using Aleppo since they don't have any seeds. We will also do some smoked paprika, as well as some freshly ground black pepper, and of course, a little bit of cayenne. Oh yeah, cowboys love cayenne. And that brings us up to the scene where we toss in everything that's green, including some fresh thyme.
Well, I'm not. No, what I'm saying is, does he just do like YouTube videos as his job? Like, did he retire from being an active chef? That was my thought.
Some finely
No, Chef John's gonna be here till the day he is no longer with us. When that unfortunate day happens.
sliced chives. And then last but not least, a little bit of freshly chopped Italian parsley. And that's it. We'll take us...
Let's see. So it'd have been about 22, 23, and 83. Fuck. That'd put him at... He's in his 60s.
spoon and kind of break this up. And then eventually stir and smear it all together. And by the way, even though we added some lemon zest,
So,
we
yeah,
are
he
also
might
gonna
not
add
be
a little bit of
quite
lemon juice to this.
retired.
But if we added it with
Well, I know chefs get to be weird. Some of them are still in the kitchen, like in their fucking 70s.
everything else, those pieces of butter are just going to slide around the bowl.
And then some of the super successful ones, they retire when they're in their goddamn 50s.
It'd be much, much harder to mix in.
And like I said, I don't know if he was like an owner-operator, so maybe he hired somebody and he just does more of the owner thing. Or if he just worked for people. I mean, I know literally very little of the man's personal life.
So I think it's a lot easier if we get everything mixed up first. And then once we get to about this point, we'll go ahead and pour our lemon juice in. And then we'll continue mixing until we're sure everything's been uniformly combined. And once that's been accomplished, we will simply set that aside. And we'll grab a couple nice thick slices of French bread.
What's up, Zach?
Check out this Echo. T-Mobile's got home internet! And it's just $35 a month!
Our echoes are all-knowing. T-Mobile's got home internet, just $35 a month, and it's guaranteed for 5 years.
For God's sakes. Thank you. I will stay at the goddamn Waldorf.
Transfer those onto a line pan. And you cut it how you want. But I think this should be at least an inch thick. And what we'll do is take our freshly made cowboy butter.
Probably for having a steak over it, yeah.
And we will very generously spread that on both sides. And by the way, this is just my version of cowboy butter. Okay, everybody's recipe seems to be a little bit different. And some include shallots, and some include horseradish. So absolutely feel free to alter this if you want. I mean, you guys are, after all, the Mr. Donahue's, of which you should use. And by the way, Mr. Donahue's is the diner in New York that gets credit for naming the cowboy butter. But anyway, once those have been generously slathered on both sides, we will transfer those into the center of a 400-degree oven for 10 minutes, at which point we'll pull it out and give those slices a flip. And once that's been accomplished, we'll pop that back in the oven for another 10 minutes or so, or until that bread's as toasted as we like, which for me is definitely fairly well browned and crispy around the edges. But it is your cowboy butter steak toast, so you decide. And once that is done to our liking, we'll transfer that onto a cooling rack, and we will set that aside until we need it. And then with the cowboy butter we didn't use, what I like to do is transfer it onto a piece of plastic wrap, and then kind of shape it and roll it into a thick cylinder. And that way we can refrigerate this, and then slice off pieces to place on our steaks. Or you don't have to. You can just spoon it on room temp. But I think a nice medallion looks a little more interesting. So we'll pop that in the fridge and move on to prep our meat. And what I have here is a beautiful 8-ounce filet mignon, which I think is perfect for this. And what I'm going to do is take a sharp knife and cut right down the center to divide this into 2 4-ounce portions. Okay, the bad news is beef filet is very expensive. But the great news is for this recipe, because we're eating it on that cowboy butter drenched toast, we really don't need a large portion of meat. So for a steak dish at least, this is fairly frugal. And then what we'll do is season this very simply with kosher salt on both sides. Okay,
you could also, I mean, it's not much cheaper, but you could do a ribeye too, or a New York strip.
Since we're using such a flavor bomb of a butter, we really don't need anything more than salt.
Or if you really want to be careful, you could do a chuck eye steak. But chuck eyes are incredibly fatty.
And that's it. We could pop that in the fridge until we're ready to cook. Or if we're ready to eat, we can head right to the stove, where I'm going to pan fry that over high heat in a little bit of avocado oil. And for the sake of filming, I'm just going to do one. And because our steak is so nice and thin, this is only going to take a few minutes per side. Plus, beef fillet is one of those cuts we want to eat around medium rare, maybe even slightly under. Or at least that's my preference. And by the way, besides cooking both sides for a few minutes, sometimes I like to pick it up and kind of brand the sides on the bottom of the pan, just to take away that raw look. So if you feel like doing that, go ahead. And then regarding doneness, we could use a thermometer and go to about 120, 125. But sometimes that's tough with a thin piece of meat. So I usually just go with the poke test.
Yeah.
And when it stops feeling mushy and springs back to the touch, you should be getting close. And once that's cooked to our liking, we'll remove that to a plate, and we'll turn off the heat, and we'll quickly transfer in a small splash of beef broth. Since even though not much caramelized to the bottom because of the short cooking time, there's more than nothing there, so we might as well deglaze. And even with the flame off, there's going to be enough residual heat to evaporate most of that broth.
Might as well make a little bit of a gravy.
Reduce that down to a couple tablespoons. And if there's not enough heat in the pan, just turn the flame back on. And that's it. Once that's set, we can plate up, and we'll transfer our steak on top of our cowboy buttered toast, and we'll pour those pan drippings over the top.
As the miles add up, engines begin to wear down in ways you can't always see.
Oh, for the love of God.
And yes, a nice tomato and red.
All right, basically, that's the dish. I got the yellow triangle of doom. God, this is the one thing I hate about doing cooking streams, is the biggest copyright cunts on the planet are usually cooking channels. All right, so let's go to how to cook restaurant steak at home without apparently the mess.
Out the mess.
I'm Chef Mike Nassar from Detroit 75 Kitchen. We make bomb-ass sandwiches. Hands down, the best sandwiches you will ever have in your life. And we cook for each other. As we all know, there is so many different ways of making a steak at home. The traditional method is to get this pan super hot. Put some oil in there and throw the steak on there. Don't flip it. They tell you, don't fucking flip it. And all of a sudden, all this oil is just flying everywhere. One, it is extremely messy. You have to 100% disconnect all of the fire alarms. You definitely have to open the windows. Normally that method is done in restaurants because they have a suction hood right on top of them. Cooking it at home is just not fun. It's just simply not worth it to clean 2 hours after to cook one piece of steak. This is a really cool method of cooking a steak at home. Perfectly done every single time. And the most important thing is no mess, no special equipment needed. You don't need anything more than a pan and a steak.
All right, ribeye, cool, awesome. My favorite cut of meat.
So first off, you need a really nice quality steak. I picked this up from a local market. This is a ribeye. It's about 1.5 pounds without the bone. You need it to be about this thick. So this is about...
Jesus! Okay, when does steak end and fucking roast begin?
Close to 2 inches or so, 1 3/4 inches or whatever it is.
Again, I just have to ask, when does the goddamn steak end and the roast begin?
Get yourself one of these with a cooling rack on there. And the reason we're doing that, when we salt it, I don't want it to drip and I don't want it to sit in its own juices. It's really up to you to salt the steak half hour before, to salt the steak 3 hours before.
Now, I know a lot of people do this technique. I personally disagree with it. Maybe I'll go back to it. Maybe I'll go back to it and try it again. But I personally am not the biggest fan of pre-salting meat because it starts to cure it and draws out some of the juices. And I want as much juice in that fucking steak as possible.
And if you really have the time, you can do it the day before and just throw it in the fridge, uncovered. Basically, you're drawing all of the moisture out of the steak. Therefore, when you cook it, less splatter and it doesn't steam as much.
And as for this splatter thing, well, generally that means people fucking doused the fucker or put a pool of oil in their pan. You only need enough, here, when you cook a steak, you only need enough oil to coat the damn thing. You use a high heat oil, like a peanut oil, or grapeseed oil, or I've heard truffle oil. I've heard avocado oil. You just want something that has a high smoke point. So again, you don't set the fucking fire alarms off. Again, my two favorites are peanut or grapeseed. Then, you don't need, you're not deep frying the fucking thing. You just need enough so it doesn't stick to the pan. My favorite pan to make a steak in is cast iron. That's just me. And yeah, if you follow these rules, you should be fine. And then when I finish it off, I usually like to melt a couple tablespoons of butter and baste it for a little bit, then let it rest. And then finish off my mashed potatoes or whatever I'm serving with the motherfucker.
You need to use coarse salt. Do not use fine salt. Fine salt is actually more salty. Whenever you salt from above. What do I mean by that? So you can get a lot of coverage. And you need to go a little bit heavy on the salt because it's a really thick piece of meat. Do not forget about the edges.
Okay, and typically I don't cook steaks this thick, so maybe that's the bias of the cut that I'm using.
You have to make sure the meat is at room temperature. You cannot take the meat straight from the fridge and put it on the griddle or put it.
Thank you. Yes, the meat has to be at room temperature. I don't care what Steven Reichland said.
In your pan or whatever it is.
Because if the meat is dead cold when you put it on the griddle, pan, whatever, it is not going to cook evenly, and the outside will be harder than fucking Scarlett Johansson's nipples on the outside, but the inside is still going to be dead cold and raw. If you want it to cook evenly, it has to be at room temperature.
It's going to crust up really bad on the outside, and it's still going to be raw on the inside. Not cooked, but raw. All right? That's not fun. This has been sitting
Now, I want to say this. You can eat steak raw.
Aside for about 20 minutes.
Because again, tartar.
You grab a piece of paper towel like this, dab it dry. You see all this water that came up? So the longer you do it, more water will draw out of the steak, and therefore it will become juicier.
I pat it dry before I season it, because the seasoning will stick.
We all heard of searing on a hot pan. We all heard of reverse searing, meaning that to put the steak in the oven, then when you take it out, sear it on here for about a minute or so. We heard of sous vide. This is a really cool method. It's called cold searing. A really, really cold pan. This is not on. I just took this off. And the reason I'm using a non-stick pan, because that's what
Jake would be having a conniption if he's seen this.
Normally people use at home. Neutral oil and non-olive oil. Neutral oil, cold pan. Guess what? The salted steak, we're just gonna dap it dry a couple more times before.
Okay, excuse me, Mr. Sandwich Extraordinaire, but where is the pepper on there? The other important seasoning?
We put it on there and just put it in there. That's all you gotta do. Put your stove on high. You're gonna set it on there for 2 minutes. Then we're gonna flip. I know a lot of times they tell you don't flip it. In my opinion, that doesn't work. On the edges of the steak, it gets that gray line. If you ever seen that gray line on the bottom of the steak, it means that it overcooked on one side. Definitely doesn't taste good. You see that.
You're right, I'm not known for freaky net videos.
It's starting to sizzle, and that's exactly what I want to hear. So we're gonna leave it on high for 2 minutes.
You're good at business? We're good at business banking. Wells Fargo.
Huggies Double Grip Strips versus Baby Gear. Will it stay put? A toy piano? Yep. A rocking horse? Yep. An entire box of Huggies?
2 minutes on, 2 minutes on the other side. We're gonna turn it down to medium. A steak of this size should take about 8 minutes to 9 minutes from start to finish. We are going to flip again. Oh, look at this. And we're gonna turn the heat down to medium. From this,
I wonder if this guy's going to get the size, because a steak that size, you should actually do the sides of it and sear them.
Point on, we're going to be flipping every 1 minute. Every time we flip, the crust.
Okay, I love that. I am not the. I've never followed the rule of only flip your steak once.
It's just going to caramelize even more. I like my steaks medium rare. I'm going to pull this off at 125. I'm gonna let it rest on the side for about 5 minutes or so. And normally it goes up about 5 degrees. We should end up with a 130-degree steak, which is perfect.
Dude, that steak looks like it's about ready to come apart right here, right now.
Medium rare. A true medium rare is 130 degrees, pink all the way through, not bloody at all. It's been 1 minute cooking on medium heat. Time to flip it again. And you see what's happening now, how the crust is building up? If I were to leave this on here for 3 minutes, can you imagine what would happen? Not good. I mean, when you're chewing it, it tastes like liver almost. That's not what we want. And the most important thing that people overlook all the time is melting the fat cap on the side. Next step is I'm gonna put it on the side for 30 seconds each side, because when you're eating steak, nobody wants to eat not cooked piece of fat. It tastes like a fat bubble gum without any flavor. But when you sear it and you get this color on the fat, that's some good stuff. And that's why you don't even need the oil in there. I just put it in there just to start it off. I put very little. But we're melting the cap and we're gonna cook with it. And The most important thing, you see all that melted fat in there? We're gonna save that, and I'll show you what to do with it later. Now, it goes on this side for 1 more minute. It is smoking, but it's not bellowing with smoke. And it's not making a mess.
If your pan is bellowing with smoke, that means you either have a low heat oil, like an olive oil, for example, or your pan is actually way too high for way too long.
The most important thing, you need to use one of these. And the reason I say that, oh, some people say, oh, you know, touch this and touch the meat or whatever. That's really cool. If you work in a steakhouse and you cook 150 steaks a day, you can do that. But if you don't, use one of these. It's just perfect. I want to take this out.
You run a sandwich shop, my friend. Don't you cook steaks for, like, steak sandwiches? Legit asking. I'm not denigrating.
125 degrees max. All right. So it's time to stick this, and normally you have to stick it from the side all the way to the middle. So now this is what we need to do. Okay, you take a little bit of butter, 2 or 3 cloves of garlic, a little bit of thyme. As soon as the butter starts foaming up, do this number. And the reason we're doing that, 1, to give it some flavor. 2, whatever parts that we thought that it didn't sear properly, we're doing that now. Perfectly cooked steak. Look at that. And
Jesus, that thing is about ready to come apart. God damn. Maybe I'll try this technique.
Mess. All right, I'm saving this oil. I'm gonna show you why in a second. This is all of the fat and the butter. And look at this. This is the biggest mess I made all day. The reason why you rest a steak, you want the juices to get back where they're supposed to go. If I were to...
Well, because if you... Well, also...
cut it right now, it's just gonna be super runny. Some parts will be super hot.
That was my exact point.
Some parts will be cold. But when you let it rest, the whole entire piece of meat will be just one temperature all the way through.
Trust me, that was the biggest cooking lesson I imparted to every one of my family members. Let meat rest. My grandparents, my grandmas, be specific, they never did that. They ate that meat right out of the fucking oven.
So when that happened...
And the only person that was like pulling teeth was my mom. And I'm like, just trust me on this. Don't worry.
Happens, all of the juices will get back where they're supposed to.
Sure enough, Sonny Boy was right.
To go. It's time to cut it up. A lot of people don't know, you know, there's 2 sides of a cutting board. There's the flat side and there's this groove side right here. And the reason this is just to collect all of the extra juices so it doesn't run on your countertop. It's not just decorative.
I never knew that.
Really? You just like making a mess in the kitchen. Yeah. All right, so we're just gonna cut.
Actually, I kind of figured that, but...
This on an angle. The moment of truth. Look at that. There's no gray line anywhere. You see that?
Damn, that's a good looking piece of steak.
Perfectly. You see the beef fat and the butter? All you need to do, put some right on the steak, just like that. Very little coarse salt. Very little. I just want that extra bite. Some time. Not necessary, but...
All right, he didn't add goddamn pepper, but I'd eat the shit out of it.
Why not? Cooking a steak for me at home is the best. This is how I cook it at home. I cook it without the mess. I have tried all of the other methods. You need special equipment and you have to clean quite a lot. And it's really not worth all of that effort. And number 2, a steak for me is just salt and pepper. I already spent the money on the steak. I want to taste the meat. If you're making...
For a steak like this, yes, the only thing that you should use is salt and pepper. But if you get like a cheaper steak, like a top round, for example, then yeah, you need to marinate it. If you get an eye of round, you definitely need to marinate it, or it'll be tougher than fucking shoe leather.
In a proper restaurant-style steak at home, this is the method to go to. Like I always tell you guys, I don't know everything, but whatever I know, I'm willing to share with you, just because that's what I like to do. Now, it's time to eat. Oh my God. You can make this with...
All right, that looks delicious. I'm
some
not
vegetables on the side, steamed vegetables, rice, mashed potatoes. My go-to is properly cooked French fries with a steak. There is nothing better. Yes, you know, cream of spinach, so on and so forth. Hey, you know, you can do whatever you want. For me, it's French fries. Now you know. Go out there and try it out. Have some fun with it. Enjoy your steak at home the proper way.
You said the fat tastes good too?
Yeah. It doesn't taste Like a piece of bubblicious bubble gum, fat flavored. Some of you might like that.
I loved Bubblicious gum when I was a kid. Terrified to swallow my gum because I thought it stayed with you for 12 years or whatever the fucking old wives' tale is. Alright, now we're going to learn how to make a sausage ragu.
A spicy sausage ragu. This is perfect for when it gets cold out. Okay, so this recipe is exclusively in our cookbook, but have no fear. If you're not into cookbooks, I'm going to put the whole entire print recipe in the description. So this one is right here. It's on page 78 of our cookbook. It's spicy sausage mafaldini. So the cookbook's available for pre-order right now, and it is coming out November 25th, 2025. In addition to this recipe, which is a new one that isn't on our website, there's about 24 more new ones. And we plan to make videos on most of them. You can order the cookbook here, use the QR code if you're watching on TV. You can go to our website, you can order it there. You can go to Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, etc., and you can order it there as well. We appreciate you ordering it. We think you're gonna love it because this book is made for the cook that is like no nonsense, that wants really good food, but not taking 25 hours to make a dish. Almost all the recipes in the dish are extremely accessible. Many of them are some of the favorites that we've made videos for here, but there's plenty of new ones. Thanks. Okay, so the ingredients: 2 28-ounce cans of plum tomatoes. These are whole tomatoes. You know, it doesn't matter what brand you use, just use good brands, like high quality brands. This Calabrian chili paste, it's just like an extra if you want to add it, and that's going to depend on how spicy the sausage you have is. We need 1.5 pounds of bulk hot Italian sausage. If you can't find bulk in the store, just get the links and then take the sausage out of the casings. We have 1 medium to large onion that's finely diced, 2 celery ribs that are finely diced, 2 large carrots that are finely diced. Recipe says pan.
This might not matter, but it might. If you go the Lynx route, typically they are sold in 19-ounce packages, where the bulk Italian sausage is sold in 16-ounce packages.
Cheddar, but you can use any fat here. You can use olive oil if you like.
I have to get in the kitchen and cook a few things, but after that, yes, I'm planning to do my normal show.
You can use guanciale, which is what I have, and the only reason I have that instead of pancetta is because when I went to the store yesterday to get the ingredients, pancetta was only at the deli counter, and I didn't feel like waiting online. If you do go to the deli counter, if your deli counter has it, always buy it in a big chunk. I would portion it into 1/4 pound to maybe like 1/3 of a pound increments. This says 6 ounces for this, but I have like 5 here. This is gonna be totally fine. Guanciale is a little bit stronger, a little bit funkier than pancetta. I actually would prefer pancetta here.
Yeah, except you should probably put as a caveat, guanciale is not the easiest ingredient to find. I've never cooked with it because I don't really want to go that far out of my fucking way for it.
You can use bacon too. Okay, so there's tons of choices for these recipes. I have a 1/2 cup of grated pecorino romano that's going to go in the end to finish it, or 45 grams. By the way, one thing that I mentioned about the cookbook, every single recipe is in US customary and metric. Many of you here have asked about that, so have no fear. It's all in metric too. 1 cup of dry red.
Just because I'm lazy, I only do things in US. Sorry.
Wine.
Maybe I should start doing it in metric, but I don't have a great big audience outside of the US, so.
It's about 2 ounces of tomato paste, or 56 grams, and then the pasta. So I love this mafaldini. This is like a sawtooth pasta. This is the pasta that's traditionally used for St. Joseph's pasta. St. Joseph was a carpenter, and it's supposed to represent the sawtooths, but it's not just used for that dish. It's really good for any type of ragu. It's great. I wouldn't use this for a light pasta. Like, I wouldn't use this for aglio olio. I wouldn't use this for cacio e pepe, even though that's kind of heavy. I still wouldn't use it for that. I would use this for something like this.
You used it for the lasagna pie.
Yes, and exactly. So it has the ridges like lasagna.
My favorite thing for like a skillet lasagna would be mafalda pasta.
But they're much.
Which I don't think I have a box of on hand.
Thinner. but full-length noodle. They're just absolutely delicious. My kids love it. I love it. This is probably like my favorite pasta to use. But you can't use it for every dish. That's the thing. You got to use it for the right application. A little bit of olive oil we'll use too, and I think that's it. Use a Dutch oven, or this is like a brazier that's 5 quarts. This will be able to fit the whole entire ragu. This is I'm using because it has more bottom area than even my larger Dutch ovens that have like a narrower bottom. My 8 quarts probably similar, but you know, the other advantage here is you can see inside this pot, which is important. Okay, I'm heating it up to about medium heat, maybe a touch lower. Just a touch of olive oil, and you could put in your guanciale or pancetta right away. I'm gonna move it all around and just let this heat come up. This is an enameled.
Now, that's odd as hell. That I figured he'd put the sausage in. Unless he's gonna take the guanciale out and then cook the sausage in that.
So you can just throw in your stuff right away and you're not gonna really get sticking with something like this. If you were using a stainless pan right now, you would still want to preheat it for about 3 minutes on the same level of heat until you add in your fat. While that's going, I'll just do my tomatoes. So look, see how like all the fat in here? A lot of fat in here. And you know, sometimes you'll buy a chunk, it'll be a little bit more meat in there, and then sometimes there'll be more fat. But we want to render all this fat. It's going to give us a lot. We're also going to have a lot of fat from the sausage. So there's going to be plenty of fat in here. But we want to wait until it renders before we enter our next step, which is adding the sausage. As for the tomatoes, I want to show you here. These are 2 brands here. One is Bianco di Napoli. The other one is Cento San Marzano certified. See the difference in these? So this one's a lot thicker. This one's a lot thinner. They'll have different salt in them. So every brand you use is going to be a little bit different. Something to keep in mind. Some people keep to their, you know, their favorites. Some people mix it up. One of the best restaurants I ever went to, he would always...
I like Cento.
The chef would come out and he would say that he would always use multiple different brands and combine them whenever he was making, and that would be when we were making massive pots of sauce. And the brand that restaurants use is not either one of these. They use Stanislaus almost exclusively in the New York area. Or like when they're cooking dishes like this, they'll use Alta Cucina brand, like the line. They have like a bunch of lines. And then the pizzerias will use other types. So what I'm gonna do with these tomatoes is I'm just gonna crush them by hand. Okay, clean hands, and just use a shield hand. Now, if you want something like completely smooth for your ragu, just throw these in a blender, pulse them. But I like the texture.
Honestly, I like it smooth.
Smooth?
Yeah, and I am a big fan of the Sclafani crushed tomatoes.
Yes.
I just think it's easier to open.
Oh, he's gonna beat his wife tonight for saying she likes it smooth.
The crushed.
You can see it in his eyes.
And the Sclafani brand is like really good. Like
yeah, they
I
are.
like the taste of the tomatoes.
Okay, maybe she's just gonna get a good spanking.
They're great for pizza.
God, I'm gonna get sued.
Those tomatoes.
Yeah.
But depending on where you live, you're gonna have different brands that are available to you in the store. I lowered the heat even more now because it's starting to brown a lot, but I still need to get a lot more of the fat out of here. Most of the fat is rendered in here. You can see it's a lot more liquefied fat in the pan. So I'm gonna add the sausage in now. This
Dude, I don't think
almost
the
glue-like
can take
sausage.
too much more.
I just want to cook the sausage
get
here
it out.
until it's cooked through. And you can turn your heat up a little bit more now. I turned it once, but I've been pretty much letting it just be undisturbed.
Okay, so he burnt the shit out of his guanciale. I'm sorry, but that's what that is.
I heat probably about 3/4 of the way to high. See how much fat's coming out of the sausage now. So at this point, you can start breaking it up. And I'm just using this $8 meat masher that is really probably the best cheap kitchen tool I've ever purchased. You can make this dish with regular sausage if you...
I hate those things. I've tried them. I hated them.
Don't want it spicy. If your hot sausage isn't spicy enough, we'll just add some Calabrian chili to this, which will go very well with the flavors we have in here. The red wine and everything, tomato. All right, let that go for a couple more minutes. Okay, so I let that go for a few more minutes. That's good now. All right, we're just gonna remove this because there's a lot of vegetables, so let's just try to let most of the fat drain. Because we want to use that fat to saute our vegetables and not knock our pot off the side. I'm gonna just turn off my heat right now. Yeah, I'm basically pulling most of the fat out, so we might have to add a little bit more oil, which will be fine. You don't have to get every last piece of sausage out of here. And just throw the carrots in, the onion, and the celery. Pinch of salt, and I'll turn my heat back on to about medium. I don't really want to get much color on these. I want them to really sweat and get nice and soft. And honestly, so I did like a fine dice here. You could also just grate these, which I've done in other videos. It's very brown here in the center. See that? So I'm just going to do a touch of water and just try to like clean my pot for the most part. That water will evaporate quick. So essentially, we're almost starting with a new clean pot. I don't want it to get too dark and burned because we're cooking these vegetables for a long time. Every few minutes, just stir it, but let's let them go for like 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, so this has been going for about 12 minutes. I'm gonna let it go for probably another 5 to 6 minutes, maybe even more. I want them to get very soft. You can see how much everything is just shrunk in the pan here. So, you know, you start with a lot and then all the water comes out of the vegetables. They start shrinking substantially, but I want them to get even softer. And I'm just moderating my heat. If I sense that it's starting to burn, I can also add a splash of water and that will lower the heat of the pan right away and stop any burning. Okay, so these vegetables are very soft.
Introducing iPhone 17 Pro.
I'm gonna add in that 2 ounces of tomato paste, roughly 56 grams, 60 grams. Give it a little stir in there. And then we're gonna add in all the sausage back. Let's just coat everything together and we're gonna let this cook for about 3 to 5 minutes to cook out that paste. My heat's about a 4 out of 10, roughly. Okay, so that has gone for 5 minutes. Any brown spots here, see like the bottom of the pan there, like right here. We'll just put the wine down and turn the heat to high. And we're just gonna scrape all those brown bits off the bottom of the pot. I'm gonna let this red wine cook almost till it evaporates and absorbs into the meat. That was a Chianti, so just use any dry red wine. So Chianti, Merlot, Cabernet, you know, you can go fancier, but just don't use a sweet wine. Okay, that's gonna absorb very quickly.
And this is another tip. If you are cooking with wine, you don't need to buy a fantastic bottle of wine. This is where brands like Yellowtail become invaluable.
Depending on how high you get your heat. This is 2 28-ounce cans of plum tomatoes. Stir this all together, and we want to bring this to a boil. You know, if you think your tomatoes are not crushed enough, you can very easily just use your meat masher again and just crush them a little bit more. Or you can put them in a blender. All right, let's let this come to a boil, and that will happen very quickly. Oh, and one more thing. Bottom of the cans, this one especially, has a lot in there. Just take a touch of water. And just get all that in there. If you're very high up there like I am, just do that. So it doesn't go all over the place. That is boiling enough. Let's turn the heat down. We want to keep it pretty low, low simmer. Make sure you're like feeling the bottom there, that nothing feels like that it's stuck. Okay, it's nice and smooth. And we're gonna let this simmer with the lid partially cracked for about 45 minutes, but you could absolutely let it go longer. You know, the longer you cook this, it's gonna be better, but more importantly, if you take this ragu and you let it cool, then put the whole entire pot in the fridge, the next day it's gonna taste infinitely better. And I'll show you one other thing. This might help you. When you're cooking, you know, Sunday sauce, ragu, anything like that, that's a long cook that you're worried if it's gonna burn. I'm just gonna turn this off for a second. I'm just gonna move it to the side. You can use one of these simmer plates, but you know, it says for low heat only, okay? So you just want low heat. Okay, just center it like that. Just put it right back and then just turn it to basically low heat, which is what we're cooking it at anyway. And what that's going to do is it's a diffuser. So the flame that hits the bottom here is gonna be diffused outwards. This isn't just good for this is good when you're trying to do rice, because you might have a problem cooking rice on your stovetop, which most people do. This will
I've never had a problem.
Diffuse that heat. If you have induction, it might work better, but I don't have an induction, and I don't use portable inductions, which many of you have asked about, because they have this whining sound and a fan that I just, It drives me crazy.
And also, they don't take every type of cookware. Trust me, I have portable inductions.
But also, you'll hear it too in the video.
How they haven't ended up in the trash is beyond me.
It's hard to remove that noise. One last thing. Every 15 minutes or so, just take off your lid and just stir the bottom. Make sure there's no burning and just give it a stir. 45 minutes minimum, but it would be better if you go a little bit longer. Okay, so it's been about an hour. I've stirred it every so often. So again, you make it go longer if you like. It would be better. And especially if you let it cool and then overnight in the fridge, it would be even better. But honestly, I tasted it. It's really good. I'm gonna taste it one more time now. I wanna check for salt, spice levels. And spice levels are gonna be really dependent on how spicy that sausage was and how spicy you like it. It's all about you. It's not about what I like, it's what you like. Oh, that's delicious. Their sausage, the place I got it from, it almost seems like it's like has the same taste as the Calabrian chili in there. So I actually don't think it needs any right now, but you know, you could serve it on the side, or if you like it really spicy, add it in there. Just like work your way up. Do a teaspoon at a time, get it exactly how you like. Doesn't need any salt either. It's the easiest dish ever. You know, it doesn't, like, there's nothing to do here. Already have my water up to boil. I didn't go over this. I used 2 28-ounce cans. Could you get by doing like a pound of sausage, 1 28-ounce can? The answer is yes. But for anything like this, like a ragu or a long cooked sauce, I always like to have extra sauce. It's not a, it's
I always do too, because again, when I put the pasta in there, it's going to soak up a ton of the sauce, and I still like to have some sauce when I'm eating it.
not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. 2 things. You can...
But then again, I like sauce, so... I don't know. Go ahead and shoot me.
Serve bread on the side, and then everybody can just dip in. And people also have the ability to put more of this on if they like. Some people like it swimming. The other thing is you can just put it in a container and freeze it, and it will be even better. So I would always say err on the side of like not trying to just make it right for the pasta, but for things like this where it's taking you a lot of time, follow this recipe how it is and use the 2 cans. Okay, so my water just came to a boil. I'm gonna cook this beautiful maffaldini. And this only says 8 to 9 minutes on here, but don't go by this. Test it yourself. Cook it to about maybe 2 minutes less than al dente. We want to finish this in the ragu, though you don't have to, okay? But we're gonna do it. Okay, we're a couple minutes away from that pasta. I just have a pan here to finish it in. So I'm just gonna turn it to a little bit less than medium.
Would this sauce be good with some cream added to it?
Absolutely. I mean, but I'm not adding anything for this one, or milk, even milk. So just like bolognese. Yeah. But normally the milk in the bolognese is used to tenderize the beef. So like you cook like some of the milk in the beginning and then you add a little bit more in at the end. But if you just add cream here, it would be, I think it would be delicious. Yeah. Like it would be really delicious. But you don't need it for this. This is delicious like this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm taking half of our ragu. I'm putting it all in the pan here. What we're gonna use to sauce our pasta initially, and we'll just use more as we need it. Okay, I'm just gonna cover that to keep that nice and hot. And I'm gonna lower that even more while I'm waiting for the pasta. I don't need it to be blasting. All right, so I've just been moving my pasta around, save some of the pasta water. This one is harder to pull out of, right out of there with a spider or something, so I'm going to put it in a colander. So what I did was I reserved 2 cups of the pasta water. We probably won't need really any of it. Here is the maffaldini. Now this pasta is not done yet. I had Tara set it for about 2 minutes less than the bag said, but it might need...
Yeah, again, but it has the extra minute in the colander, has the extra minute of being brought over, has the extra... And if you're going to put it in the pan, it'll be fine.
Even longer. Okay, and I'm just going to start getting that all mixed together. And we're just going to let it cook until it gets a perfect al dente. All right, I can tell already we're going to need a little
Although
bit.
typically I only go 1 minute. That's me.
More. Okay, and then just a touch of the pasta water. Just doing a ladle. Depending on how thick the ragu is, how long you cooked it, you might need more or less pasta water. You can break off a piece if you want to try it, so you don't have to like take a huge piece each time. And that needs another minute or 2. I just think it's such a beautiful looking pasta shape. And it's like getting a little dry here as I'm waiting for it to finish, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more pasta water. That's a ladle. Okay, I'm gonna turn that off. I'm gonna remove it from the heat. I'm gonna mix in that half a cup of grated pecorino. Now you could use Parmesan cheese if you want to. And the little knob of butter at the end here isn't gonna hurt, but we don't need it. And a lot of this pasta, like it kind of broke apart, like the edge came off, but it doesn't matter. It still looks awesome. Okay, so like right where it's at now, it's absolutely perfect. Taste it again one last time and just season it if you need to. But what'll happen is if you're waiting like even a little bit for your
Vikings are kicking the crap out of the Bengals. It's 41-3.
family, it might just dry up. So you can just use another ladle of pasta water, and we have plenty more of the ragu too. Tara's a taste tester. She's been watching me make it the whole time, and you've had this before, I think, right? Or something similar?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so would you like cheese on it?
Sure.
Okay,
yeah.
what do you, I used pecorino to finish it.
That's fine.
You want more? Okay.
Sure.
So I have Parmesan here too,
I
if
always
you want.
prefer Parmigiano Reggiano.
Do you want Parmesan
no,
Reggiano?
it's fine. If you use
Okay.
pecorino in it, then we'll stick with that. Pecorino goes with the Calabrian flavor.
And by the way, I buy containers because it's a lot easier, and if you go to a place that's good, they grade it daily. It doesn't matter. Okay? It's another myth of Reddit. You gotta have a fresh block. It's ridiculous.
Oh,
okay?
the fresh block is good to have too.
It doesn't matter. Every restaurant that's making food for you, including the ones that have a couple Michelin stars on them, they are not grading that cheese to order. They have huge amounts
I
of
think
it
it
graded.
depends on where
you know?
you're getting, what store you're buying the cheese from. If it's like an Italian grocery store, they probably graded it that morning. Obviously, you don't want to get something that's like off the shelf.
No, if you're getting graded Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, you've got good cheese. If you're buying like domestic Parmesan or some other stuff, then it's or you know that dreaded green can. Don't buy that.
Yeah,
okay?
don't buy that.
Don't buy that.
Oh wow, this is actually like way better than I was expecting.
You can find a lot of Maffaldini. If you can't find it locally, Amazon has a bunch of different brands. This was the Anna brand. I'm less happy with this one than I have been with some other brands. A lot of it broke into strings here, even when it was still not even close to cooked. So there's nothing wrong with that. It still looks very appetizing, I think. But ideally, everything will stay like a piece like that.
Like I said, it was better than I was expecting it to be. I have water here and I haven't needed to take a sip of it yet. I'm taking a sip just to like cleanse.
So you would like it spicier?
Yeah, but I did not need to drink anything to like
Yeah.
cut any heat. To me, this like really...
You don't want water with spice. But anyway, that is the show. I'm probably going to be back, but that will be on my other channel, Lord of Patriarchy. And hopefully I will see everyone tomorrow. Good night.